Hello, Fredak here. Fred ACC, all one word. Alrighty, so it is Sunday, November the 16th. It's about 1 p.m. East Coast time. And unfortunately, the rake is going to be on hold. Yeah, that can happen. Hurry up and wait. So, I want to thank you all for being here today. And as always, Fredak stops on here to try to put a posting out there to keep everybody focused on the big picture. The big picture is the generational wealth, the big money. I hear all the different chatter about XRP, and XRP is at about $2.17. It's either going to turn out to be the greatest buying opportunity in history, or it's not. That's what it comes down to. Me, I'm not parting with mine. I'm going to sit tight and wait to get the rake out. And that maybe won't happen. Maybe it's hopium. Maybe I'm caught up with it all. But first up, I want to thank you all for being here today. I hope you're having a wonderful day out there. And this is not financial advice, just the ideas that are swirling around in Fredak's head. With all that being said, Fredak has a little bit of scribbled notes. Not a lot, just a little bit of stuff to think about. Today's posting is titled Printing Money. And we're going to kind of elaborate on printing money and why I think printing money out of thin air is going to be the catalyst for XRP to be huge. Huge. Generational wealth. Let's get right in on it. First up, as we always try to say, beware of the scammers. The scammers are out there in full force, trying to part you from your money. And they use many different devious ways to try to get inside your wallet. Some of them portray themselves as they're here to help you. We're going to help you. Just click down below. I don't know. Don't click nothing. What I always say, and I've the axiom from mom and grandmom, is if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Alrighty, let's get right into this with all the printing money stuff. Today, it's all about XRP. I hope you subscribe, because it might just change your life a little bit. $2.17. If I can scrape together a few more pesos, I might even buy some more. But right now, I'm sitting pretty good. And I'm profitable on almost everything. Recent ETF that I bought, the XXRP, is down a little bit. But that could change very quickly. Okay, so ETFs are the big word of the day. ETFs. Okay, what do ETFs do? They drain the supply. That's what they do. ETFs of XRP are coming to fruition. One came about the other day from Canary. Canary started theirs. It's the XRPC. Okay, and like I've always professed, knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have. And I strongly suggest you don't just swallow hook, line, and sinker, whatever people blabble on here. There's something on here for everyone. They'll tell you everything on YouTube. World's coming to an end. The world is going to do this. The bottom line is that I try to share with you guys what's swirling around in my head from both sides of things, the good and the bad. If I see bad, I try to put it on here. And I also realize I might be caught up in the hopium. That is possible because I am involved. I'm inside the box. Try to think outside the box. But so ETFs, from my understanding of them, they will drain supply. There's only about 6 to 8 billion. That's billion. Every billion is a billion of something is 1,000 piles of a million. There's only 6 to 8 billion of the XRPs that are out there in kind of easy to grab in excess circulation. That's what I learned on the internet. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I hope that it is. So if there's ETFs coming to fruition, each one of them is going to be having the XRP token coin taken out of supply. So if supply diminishes, if there is demand, boom, to the roof. Okay, so what I also picked up on earlier this morning was that when the Bitcoin ETFs had started, that drained the liquidity. Granted, with Bitcoin, there's only 20 million of them out there. But that was also a strong catalyst, supposedly, to the price of Bitcoin going through the roof. So, as XRP starts to evolve into the ETF world, it's going to drain supply. And I posted this a day or two ago about how it's extremely difficult with all this extremely low volume for the big money groups to get their hands on XRP. That's got to tell you something. Hello! That's got to tell you something about something. So, okay, here we go. Hello usually means, you might want to listen into this. Do you think with the ETFs coming, there will be more exposure by the public to XRP? I'm glad you asked. Do you think the ETFs are going to cause more exposure to the general public that have most people have never heard of XRP? They don't know what it is. They've heard of Bitcoin. Have they owned it? Probably not. It's way up there in price. It's outside of most of the Fred Acts, the 9-to-5ers range. But XRP is there, available. A person could buy 600 of them. You're not going to budge the price. You could buy 6,000 of them. You might start to budge the price a little bit. You're not buying 600 million of these or 1.5 billion without budging the price. That I can tell you. I can see from the volumes how light they are. Volume. So, like I said, do you think with the ETFs coming, this is going to add more exposure to the public? Well, I'm glad you asked. Hello? Absolutely. The more that XRP is mumbled out there, the more people are going to start to realize maybe this is something I should be looking at. There are so many different cryptos out there, but most of them are going to fall by the wayside. For whatever reasons, they're not designed to be the railroad tracks for the global financial currency of the world. And for that matter, there are many other different aspects that the crypto world blockchain can satisfy. Stock market, real estate, gift cards, they can go on and pay your taxes. Different countries that have different kinds of things like Social Security, disability, SNAP, EBT, Wix, this, that, all these other things, all these things can be connected. Now, this is one of the downsides. And I've spoken about these things on here in some of my past postings. Where is the big money going to make their money in this stuff? Because you're cutting out you're trimming a lot of the fat that was there for the big money groups. The Swifts, the American Expresses, the Western Unions of the world, they're not for this because they haven't figured out a way that they can get their hands on it and chop up the little guy like they've been doing to us forever. The 9-to-5ers, the Fred Acts have been on the carving board. The big institutions, they don't make money from other big institutions. No, they make it off of you and me. Think about that. Think about it. Okay, so how does printing money, that's the topic of this whole thing. How does printing money hurt? I'm glad you asked. How does printing money out of thin air? That's what the governments do. The United States government does that. As governments print money, it devalues, it devalues the currency. How long till individuals realize this? Well, I'm glad you asked. I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's going to be sooner than later because people are already realizing that their money buys less and less and less. Whether it's U.S. money, whatever money it is from around the globe, it's just less and less and less. Now, I'm not an inflation expert. I don't know if they're experiencing the same inflation in other parts of the four corners of the globe. Denmark, England, Germany, Brazil, but I have to think that they are. It's the kind of disease that spreads to everybody. But printing money is not a good thing. So at a certain point, the everyday people, and we're done with the notes, the everydayers out there are going to start to realize that, where can I put my money to be safe? Well, it's probably not going to be Bitcoin, even though it's ticking on the 95,000 a coin. And I've spoken on here numerous times how I don't think Bitcoin is the one. It's slow. It's not designed for the transactions. Not the way XRP, the Ripple company, has positioned themselves somewhat beautifully. But it hadn't dawned on me until recently that the Ripple company might not be tooting their own horn to try to project the XRP token coin to surge in price, because then it would be harder for Ripple to go out there and make the purchases that they're making. They're putting together all the pieces of the puzzle. I don't know of any other crypto coin that is doing what the Ripple company is doing. Think about that. Think about that. So my feeling is that there are so many different catalysts out there for this XRP to become the one. And if, I try to be open-minded and fair to say, if it starts to have functionality and it has use case scenario, XRP is going to thrive big time. Am I going to care that I once could have got out at over $3.50, $3.40, $3.40, $3.50? Not a bit. Because once it's over $10, and sooner than later, the everyday people of the world are going to start to realize all around the globe that XRP is the place to be. Think about it. I personally don't think that there's any other crypto coin that is laying down the foundation, the train tracks, the railroad tracks for the movement of global finance the same way that the Ripple company is. Now, as I always say, I try to be fair-minded and point out things on both sides of the fence. The Ripple is dominating the landscape to the point that it might actually be a bit of a deterrent, because the big global entities out there, the United States government, they might perceive this as it's too dominating. You're putting together all the pieces to this, but I'm not sure if it could be stopped, because the evolution of where things are going, as I have pointed out, many different examples. Stock exchange. Originally, stocks were in stock certificates. Then they were moved to street. Now the point is here where it needs to move to blockchain. Stock ownership, real estate ownership, gift cards, moving money, could be instant to XRP. It takes a second, 2 seconds to send, I don't know, $50 million. And it might cost $1 to send it or something like that. You got to do your homework. You got to check these things out. But there are so many different avenues. Sure, there's a lot of bloodletting going on right now, price-wise. But I don't see much volume going on. There's no volume. And I've stated before on here, the big money, the big institutions, they're going to control all of this. As they always do, they always control everything. Also, I see at $2.17 a tremendous buy opportunity. It either will be or it won't be. If it is, it's going to be generational wealth. It's going to be a life-changing thing. There's another catalyst out there. The tens of thousands of people that are heading into financial distress, some of them might start to look into this and say, where can I save my buns? I got to make a move on something. Well, they're probably not going to fly out to Vegas or Macau on a plane and roll the dice and try to hit it big. No, they're going to pick something that's got an outside opportunity to go from $2.17 to $1,200, and they would say, wow, it bailed my bass out. Alrighty. A lot of stuff to think about. The rake is on hold. Printing money. Think about it. When the governments keep on printing money, it's devaluing the money. The money's being devalued. And at a certain point, the everyday people are going to wake up. They're going to wake up. Got to wake up, and you got to get involved with something that's not getting devalued. Sure, right now, cryptocurrencies, the main players, can fluctuate in price. That is one of the negatives to it, as I have pointed out on here. Let's just say Ethereum's at $3,000 and you accept Ethereum at your car dealership and you sell new cars. And you have these cars for $30,000. On a Saturday, you sell 12 cars. 10 of them are bought by purchasers that have Ethereum. So they give 10 of their Ethereum tokens, coins, for that new car. Well, now you are the entity that has 10 out of the 12 cars. 10 times 10, you have 100 Ethereums worth $300,000. You don't want to see this thing fluctuate down 5, 7, 8%. Sure, if it fluctuates up 5, 7, 8%, you made a lot of money. But there has to be offshoot places to lay them off, to dump them off to lock in your amount. Makes sense, right? A lot of things to think about. Printing money, it's not a good thing. In a twisted way, I think that that's going to sooner or later open up the eyes of the everyday individuals around the whole globe that say, I got to lock into something that has some kind of stability. And I personally think it's going to be XRP. Any comments you have, leave them down below. Not selling the course. We don't have the Kung Fu grip, none of the other different stuff. May all your days be winning ones.